Mike. I'm in a band called 10th Avenue North. You guys excited to be here? Dude, how about the Alive Metro Band? There's too many people here. What are you guys all doing here? Why'd you all come? You guys into doing a little worship? Let me ask. I just wanted to take a time before we come out and rock your faces off. Just to warn you, there will be some face meltage, so be aware of that. If you're scared of that, it's best to leave now. But before we do that, I wanted to maybe talk about something that, surprisingly as a band, we get this email quite a bit, and it comes across the same question. And for whatever reason, I guess people think guys in bands really know what they're talking about. We don't. We just happen to have instruments. That's the only difference. But everyone keeps sending us this email now, and it says this. It's, what is God's plan for my life? And I want to say, you think a dude in a band knows? Don't you have some friends you can talk about this with? But as I started thinking about it, the other day I was reading through the Bible, and I think I know what God's plan is for your life. Do you want to hear it? Not only do I know God's plan for your life, I know how you can do it and why you should do it. What's that? Some of you are like, this guy's dumb. Because how in the world could I know that? There are people here that come from totally different backgrounds, different schools, different families, different cultures. Some of you guys laugh at really weird things. You know, some of you love certain movies, and others you're like, that's the dumbest movie I've ever seen. How could you love that? It's about a bunch of blue people on a crazy alien planet. What's the big deal? I don't know, but after I saw Avatar, I wanted to plug my ponytail into something and fly it around. You know what I mean? That's all I know. Well, here's the deal. I can't know what God's plan is for everyone's life, but listen. I know what Jesus said God's calling on his life was.
No.
And I don't know about you, but I think it would do a lot better if we stopped asking God, what's your plan for my life? And we just looked at Jesus and said, why don't you let my plan be just like his? Right? Because first and foremost, Jesus didn't, hey listen, I hope you understand, my calling is not to be a rock star. My calling is the same as yours, because you know what Jesus said our calling was? He said, I've called you to go and make disciples.
Right.
That's it. Well, disciples of what? Well, check this out. Anyone like the Bible?
Can you see, honey? Yeah.
Check this out. In Isaiah 61, Jesus gets up in front of when he's first starting his ministry, he gets up and he pulls out the scroll of Isaiah 61 and he reads it and he says this. He says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. To what? To proclaim good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to the captives, recovering of the sight of the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, and proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Okay, so you got good news to the poor, liberty to the captives, sight to the blind, liberty those who are oppressed, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. In Isaiah 58 it says this, that the kind of fast, the kind of action that God requires of us is this, to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke, to share your bread with the hungry, and to bring the homeless poor into your house. For whatever reason, God seems to be really big into freedom. Amen? And I believe that God broke our chains, not just to set us free so that we might glorify him and proclaim the excellencies of him who called us out of darkness and into his marvelous light. Not just to do that, but to also do something with our hands. Because he broke our chains, we should long to break others' chains. Amen? Now, I don't know if you know this, but today, get ready for a buzzkill, okay? There are 27 million slaves in the world. 27 million. That's 10 times more slaves than there were at the time when William Wilberforce was getting slavery abolished. There is far more slavery, and now the fastest growing form of slavery is something called sex slavery, where guys take advantage of these girls and they sell them off and they sell their bodies to men. I know you're like, wow, great. Thanks for the booster, Mike. Really exciting now. And for some of you, when you hear a number like that, it's easy. I don't know about you, but when I first started hearing about how much slavery and how much injustice, I'd be like, I want to do something about it, but man, 27 million. I could just, football. It's like, it gets so big that we just don't do anything. And so look, I've got a really simple sheet for you guys. Did any of you guys get that little card that was on the seats? Where is that thing? Okay, there's some out at our table, so in the intermission you can grab one of these. Now check this out, I'm just going to read you one quote. It says this. It says that your calling is where your passions meets the world's needs. How many of you believe that? That God has wired you. He's wired you, He makes you laugh at certain things, He makes you cry at certain things that no one else does, because He has a very specific wiring where your calling can meet the world's needs. That's what we believe. And so on the back here, it's actually got steps into the slavery process. You see, slavery is a much bigger issue than just, well, let's go make people not slaves. Well, what does that mean? Well, this has got 5 easy steps. Number 1 is you save a kid before they even get put into slavery. And so we're going to talk a little to you about compassion tonight. How many of you guys ever sponsored a compassion child? I don't know if you know this, but every guy in our band that's going to get on stage, we sponsor a compassion child. And I'll tell you about that. But that's prevention. Number 2, you got IJM, where they go in and they actually rescue people out of slavery. They kick down the doors of brothels and they bring them out. But here's the problem. Where are you going to put them once you get them out of slavery? You got to put them somewhere. So the step 3 is to learn about aftercare. We got Home Foundation and Love 146. They go and they build shelters for these women and girls and people who've been in slavery, and they get them some therapy. They get them out of those places in a place where they can recuperate. But here's the deal. That's not enough, because now what do you do with them? Because those places get filled, and what do you do with them then? Well, then we're going to talk to you a little bit about not for sale. And they're teaching people, and they're teaching Americans, that the things we buy actually has an effect on slavery. For instance, you're not going to like this. Did you know that 95% of the world's chocolate is made by slave labor? Yeah, someone's like, dang it. Some of you are like, I don't like this concert. I don't care if it's sold out. I don't like this. Here's the deal. So, alright. I don't think there's anyone in here that goes, yeah, ending slavery, that's a bad idea. Anyone think that's a terrible idea? James says it this way. It says, true religion is to look after orphans and widows and their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. I have a feeling no one in here is like, that's a bad idea, bro. I don't think we should look after widows or orphans. Let them care for themselves, little kids. No one's doing that. But the reason I think some of us don't get involved is we don't really understand what Jesus has done for us. 1 John 3:16 says this. This is how we know what love is, that Jesus Christ laid down His life for us. What? You realize that? This God, this amazing God who looks down, and we're little scumbags. I don't know if you know that. Romans 5 says, while we were still scumbag sinners, that's my translation, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. God looked down and we didn't have anything to offer Him, and He said, I want to give you all of myself. How amazing is that? And John says, you want to know a litmus test? You want to really know if you understand that? Ask yourself this. Are you giving your life to your brothers? Or are you like, mine? 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 You like those little seagulls.